Join us as we battle on the front lines of a continent lost in darkness at the time of Ragnarok. For we are here not for silence or slumber. We are here for confrontation.
Alright, so today we've got something a little bit special. We've got a package sent by Kyle at Temple of the West Miniatures that does a range of Confrontation Continuum miniatures, which is a new line of models based on the artwork of the very talented Gary Chalk that he did for Rackham back in the day. Lots of concept artwork, especially for like Cadwellon, because that was his main sort of focus and project at the time. So in a collaboration with Confrontation Continuum and Kyle's company Temple of the West, we can bring you these wonderful renditions of Gary's work in miniature. So we have this one here that he sent me, which is Kelaz the Brutal. It's applied just as is. I have not opened up this blister. This is the reason I'm doing these videos for Kyle, is to give him a little bit more exposure in the products that he sells, because they're so good. They're worth reviewing and showing people, as many people as I can, to say that yeah, there is somebody out there making wonderful models of those beautiful classic models that you'd found during the time when Rackham was still around, producing excellently fine cast metal miniatures. So as you can see from the front of the blister, you're graced with some of Gary Chalk's original artwork. Now, as to when he actually did this drawing, I'm not really sure. I think he did this drawing during the time when he was working or commissioned by Rackham for Cadwellon artwork, but then don't quote me on that because I'm not exactly sure of the timeline when this was produced. Maybe it's been stored away. He actually owns the art and owns the property rights or whatever to the artwork that he did for Rackham. And it just so happens that Kyle made the connection and got Gary onto this project. And thankfully has done that, because the team behind all this has been wonderful. So let's get on with it, and let's open up this blister and see what we've got inside. Okay, so here's the contents of our little blister. Not only one, but two cards. You're asking why? Why are there two cards, and what are they for? Well, this card here will be for the Confrontation Continuum game when it is released. I know it's still in development, but it looks very similar to the old 3.5 cards that came with Confrontation. So double the fun, really. You can play this with 3.5 straight out of the box. The cards look very similar in size. In fact, we'll probably do a video on that in comparison to the old cards to the new cards that Kyle producing, but there is one slight difference in that it helps you to actually say what all those attributes are in a vertical representation of all the stats. Whereas on the original cards you had nothing. You just had like the symbols and just numbers, and unless you had played Confrontation, a bit of a veteran, you sort of got used to all the numbers and symbols, but if you weren't, it was a little bit hard to navigate as to what all these numbers and symbols were. So that's a nice little addition. Apart from that, it looks exactly like the old style 3.5 cards or 3.0, 2.0 cards. I believe Thierry from TH Miniatures painted this model, which is beautifully done. It's a great model, actually. I really love this one. Yeah, I mean, it has all the hallmarks of the old Confrontation cards, even this little quote down the bottom, which I love as well. It's got his equipment abilities and his rank, and yeah, his points value and everything, so you could use it straight into your games, import it straight into your game to Confrontation straight away. So that's really, really promising. It's great to see, and I'm really happy about that. And then we're looking forward to seeing what Kyle comes up with his own skirmish type base game for Confrontation in the iteration for Continuum in the future. So we get to play that at some point. It does come with two bases. One is a square, so exactly the same size and dimensions as the old Rackham style bases. And you have a circular base as well for a round base. People that want to just use it for display or use it in, you can use these for role-playing games. In Continuum, they'll be either square or round based. So at your heart's content, you can base them however you wish. Let's have a look at the model now. And here is our giant all put together now. So I've just quickly assembled him. And you'll see this very delicate feathers that are a separate piece for the butt of the sword, which I thought was a really cool thing. And I didn't actually notice that on the tab of the miniature at first until I looked at the picture and realized, oh wow, there's some details there. And I had a look, and sure enough, there were these feathers that I could pry off the tab nice and easily. I haven't done any green stuff or filled in the gaps, and the sword arm I tried to pin, but it just wasn't working for me, unfortunately, just due to the sort of that V-shaped angle, and I just glued it in. But using this Japanese glue that I've got here, this super glue, I'm sure it has absolutely no problem fastening that and making a very tight bond. I'm more worried about the feathers actually coming off. They're so beautiful like that, just hanging there. The shield's just been, I've just sort of tacked it on with blue tack, because I'm sure Paul, when he receives it, will probably want to take that off and paint it off separately. But yeah, I thought I'd just put it together so you can see exactly what it looks like assembled, and it is a really beautiful model. It's one of my favourites of the range, and thanks again to Kyle and Temple of the West for sending this to us for review. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please get onto it. Go to templeofthewest.com. I'll leave the website in the show notes so you can go and see what they're doing there. But they have a range of models already available that you can buy from the store, with Confrontation 3.5 cards and a Continuum card in the pack. So yeah, get your miniatures now and start painting and playing with them. Alright then guys, okay, well stay tuned for another review of the, what's his name, Ferox Cadware Gladiator in a future unboxing. Alright, and welcome back to another unboxing here from the Confrontation Continuum line. This time it's Ferox the Cadware Gladiator. So just like the previous unboxing, we have a wonderful bit of artwork here from Gary Chalk again, of the model that'll be contained inside here. So without further ado, let's open it up and let's see what we've got inside. Okay, so in our contents of a little blister here, we've got two cards again. Of course, this one here is for the Confrontation Continuum game when that is released. This will be the card you use for the miniature, and it's accompanied with a card for the 3.5 rules, or let's say 3.0. I keep calling it 3.5. It really is essentially 3.0 or 3.5 of Confrontation, the game. So again, this actual model was something that was released by Rackham during the 2000s. I think it was 2000. It was probably late actually, 2006 maybe, 2005. Of a model that I was not very fond of at all, but I'm really happy to see this particular sculpt because it is far superior than the original one. So there was an actual Gladiator model for Cadwellon, and this is a wonderful substitute for that. If you do actually have the original one and you like it, well then you can get another one that's based on very much a similar kind of style and artwork. But yeah, let's put it together now and let's see what it looks like. And here he is in all his glory, all assembled, which is pretty easy to do. It's only going to come with a few parts. I did pin the scabbard to his back. It's got like a part where the belt has a ring on it, so you can just sort of drill a hole in there, and I just drilled a hole into the hilt of the scabbard and attached it that way. The daggers have a nice little sort of pinpoint area where there's sort of a place where you insert the point where it should meet, so there's no ambiguity there as to where it should go. It's very clearly marked out in the detail. The sword arm was a little bit difficult. I did try to pin it, but the actual wrist section is really thin, and I'm using probably the too big a pin for that, unfortunately. So, but it still went on okay. I just wanted to make sure that it did actually have a sort of a hole, and it did have a section on the arm that you didn't really need to pin it. You could just stick it in there. But out of tendency, I like to pin models. But it's fine. It will hold up perfectly well. I just need a bit of green stuff on there, and away you go. Before we wrap up this unboxing, I thought I'd just give a quick look at the size comparisons of both miniatures. As you can see, the Giant does tower over the Gladiator, and its scale is quite impressive. Again, I'm really happy that it's cast in metal and not in resin. And, they both are beautiful models, easy to assemble. They've really, even the assembly feels like I'm assembling a model from the Confrontation range, 15 years ago. So that's, kind of a nostalgic trip back in the past again. But the benefits of these models over the old Confrontation models are that they are cast in a much higher tensile strength metal, meaning that then you don't have really soft parts of the model that could easily potentially break during assembly, which is one of the old faults of the original models, is that especially during the middle of their life cycle, the lead that we're using was very soft and could often break when you're dealing with very fragile components. So again, really cool to see the size comparison of these guys, and we can't wait to see them on the tabletop. Now let's have a look at the cards. Okay, I wanted to do this comparison of the cards so you can see the difference. Well, there will be very little difference, apart from some notable changes from what Kyle has done at Continuum of the West with his card here, which is obviously the one for the Cadwell Gladiator, if I can say correctly, and the one on the left, which is Babia Gob, which is one of the original cards that I have here. So, apart from the attributes being listed on the side of the card, looking at both of the cards, I cannot pick out anything that would be any different from the original cards, which is really something that I think is just incredible that Kyle could pull off. That he could get the cards exactly the same size, the colors, there's no sort of massive variation in the saturation of colors and that kind of thing. So that's quite impressive. Let's have a look at the backs of the cards before. So this is the one that's from the Cadway Gladiator, and Babia Gob's on the left. Apart from just some very, very slight, discoloration, as in, whether it's age or not, I'm not sure, but the original Confrontation cards got a little bit more sort of beige and yellow to it, and greys to it, and the Continuum card's a little bit whiter. But apart from that, and the dragon maybe is a little bit different, but apart from that, they're so close you would never notice at a second glance, really. So that's really, really quite a great achievement that Temple of West have managed to pull off, to get those cards looking so much like the originals. So very impressed by that, and I know that Kyle's working on bringing out a full range of cards of the existing miniatures, I believe, from Confrontation, maybe you can get them as like faction packs or something in the future. So they'll have all the stats outlined as well, and they'll have like a picture, not of the original model, but of I think maybe from community members donating pictures of their own collections, and they will be featured on the cards rather than the original models. So that'd be quite interesting and exciting to see. But it means that you got miniatures you can buy now from the store at Temple of the West, and you can import them directly into your game to Confrontation straight away. And then you've got the Continuum game to look forward to in the future to play the other profiles with. So guys, look, thanks very much again for watching these videos. I hope you enjoyed my unboxing and review of these models. Again, very impressed by the quality of the miniatures, the sculpting, the casting, and the packaging. The whole thing is really, really top level. So thanks again, Kyle, and stay tuned for another Confrontation video in the future. Okay, until then, bye-bye.
Voiceover by Owen Staten. You can find me on the Time Between Times podcast or Spectre of the Sea. If you want to contact me, owenstaten@aol.com. Diolch yn fawr.